'cause she's a Jezebel. St. Andrew Jezebel, 'cause she's a Jezebel. St. Andrew Jezebel.
Hey y'all, thanks for joining us for the latest episode of the St. Andrews Jezebel Podcast, the show where we celebrate all things historic St. Andrews. Today, we're celebrating my friend Sandi Marlisa. You may remember her from the breakout duo Jack and Jen that released an album this past winter, and they were also part of our Salty Field Recordings YouTube series. I'm super happy to have Sandi back today to talk about her latest book release, Flurries, which hits the shelves May 28th. Some of you may have read her last book, To All Who Wander, and already know Sandi is a compelling writer, so I'm super excited for her upcoming release. If you've been enjoying the podcast and you'd like to show your support, you can make a one-time donation on our Ko-fi page. I'll include it in the show notes below. Also, you might notice that the podcast is currently 100% listener-supported, but if you'd like to sponsor an episode, just send me a DM and we'll talk. For a more enhanced experience, follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram. I want to again thank Sandi for being on the show, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. While y'all sit back, relax, grab your favorite beer, and enjoy the show. We are welcoming back our friend Sandi Marlisa. And so, Sandi, thank you so much for coming. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
You've had a whirlwind of a year with releasing a full-length album with your duo Jack and Jen, several singles, a music video, weekly gigs, and soon your latest book release, which is called Flurries. I read your previous release, which is called To All Who Wander, and I couldn't help but think of this as a sequel memoir. Can you tell me how this book got its name?
Absolutely. So it was coming straight out of the pandemic and things were starting to settle down a little bit. And I had been cooped up as well as my kids, and the godfather of my kids, my sister, and her two kids moved in. And I just thought, hey, I really need some friends. I'm going through a divorce. Let me have all these people over that I knew from high school who had to move back home because of the pandemic. And we're sitting around this fire, and a friend moved a log and sparks went into the air, and my daughter said, Flurries. And I just thought that was really cool. So I thought, hey, that's going to be the name of my next book. I like that.
That's a damn good title. So in the sample, I was happy to read that the format it's very episodic. Sure, there are chapters, but to me, at least how I viewed it, each chapter has a name, which lends to some great foreshadowing. Can you describe the moment when you knew it was time to write another book?
Absolutely. I felt after the divorce that I had lived a lot of life, and it was all in such a rush, and so many things had happened at the same time. And I usually write as I go, and I write in an essay format, and I just honestly didn't have that much time to do that. And I just felt like there was so much inside of me, and I needed to get it out. And so I was like, well, you know what? January sucks in Florida anyway, and gigging isn't as great in January. So I'm going to take the month of January off. I'm going to go to Alaska and write it and see what happens and take the risk on myself. And that's what I did. And it actually worked out. So.
And thank goodness you did that. So feeding into that, back in December of 2021, we met, me and you and Eli as Jack and Jen, at Oaks by the Bay Park to make some videos for my web series, Salty Field Recordings. We froze that day.
Yes, we did. That was really cool.
Then shortly after, you ran off to Alaska to finish writing this book. Following your post, I seem to remember you temporarily withdrew from social media deliberately for almost a month and somewhat pulled a present-day Henry David Thoreau.
Yeah.
Somewhat of a transcendental venture. So can you describe what it was like being thousands of miles away from home, away from your kids, away from your everyday surroundings, and tasking yourself with completing Flurries?
Absolutely. I felt that I had never actually taken the risk on myself to take a month off to do what I wanted to do. Not to make money, not to please a client or please my listeners or followers, but just take a month to go create what I wanted to create, regardless of the outcome. And when I arrived, I already had written 90,000 words in essay format, and I didn't realize I had written that much. And I ended up trashing the whole thing and starting from scratch. And I wrote 130,000 words while I was in Alaska. And it really proved to myself that I can bet on myself as an artist to take a month off and be productive and write 130,000 words and that was good stuff. What was so meaningful to me is I went to Alaska to write in order to prove something to myself, that I can work as an artist and stay on task and complete what I want to complete and do what I set out to do. So helps just solidify that for me, that I am an artist and this is my work. This is what I do, and it's not weird.
And in a little bit of the sample that I read, that was one of the things that struck me as, without giving anything away, with no spoilers, one of the outlying themes that I found from Fire Flurries is embracing the word artist.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't always like that term. What do you think changed that?
Therapy helped a lot. I didn't realize that was something that was holding me back from doing what I needed to do. I grew up thinking you were Beyonce or a music teacher. There was no life in between that. There was no going out and gigging at a bar and making a good living while you're doing it. No one introduced that to me. I found that out through other people that were doing that, meeting people and living life. And so I wrestled with the term artist. I was talking to my therapist and she said, "Ooh, you make a face every time I call you an artist. What's up with that?" And I'm like, "I don't know what's up with that. Let's explore that a little bit." And I realized, due to growing up the way that I did and being told that being an artist isn't a real thing, that I started hating that word because it was synonymous with lazy or impractical or something that happened in a dreamland, not in real life. So being able to embrace that came with years of therapy, doing the work and proving to myself, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. And people think I'm great at it. And maybe I should start thinking I'm great at it too.
Well, what a revelation. Anyone who has worked as an artist for any length of time will tell you, you absolutely cannot be lazy and succeed.
Absolutely not. I work harder now than I ever did when I was working in the corporate life. You have to stay on task. You have to come up with creative ideas, and you're building something out of nothing. You're making a way where there is no way. There is no format for this. There is no college degree for this kind of artistry. It just is something that you forge for yourself. And I think that's part of the artistic journey, to be completely honest. I think most artists have to go through that birthing process of feeling uncomfortable in order to get out what they need to get out. And I embraced that process, and now I'm here and I'm like, I'm an artist. I can do this. And you can do it too.
And rinse and repeat.
Yes, exactly.
It's never over.
Never.
Another theme from the release is perpetual grief. Personally relate to this so deeply. I feel like I will always be grieving someone or something. What would you say is the most valuable coping mechanism that you have found along your journey?
For myself, I had to embrace, again, because my therapist told me, I create almost compulsively because I have to do this or it's drugs and alcohol, period. This is how I cope in the world, is creating songs, is creating books. This is how I stay away from everything. To think that there were people who tried to discourage me from that or pull me away from that. And I realized they probably didn't know what they were doing, but they were literally trying to take away my method of being healthy in the world. Because when I am separated from my art, if I'm not able to be productive in my art, in my artistry, I am a shell of a human being. And I look for other ways to fill that void. And to me, there's far worse ways to cope than writing a song. And it's silly that we discourage young children from pursuing that when it's so clear that's how they move and breathe through the world. And then we wonder why they end up hooked on things they shouldn't be hooked up on. And so for myself, high productivity in my art is my coping mechanism. And it's a beautiful one, I think, making beauty out of pain.
I would agree. Absolutely. And I think you've essentially done that because you've created wonderful songs, previous books to this one, and you're a good friend. So absolutely. What advice would you give to aspiring artists, maybe people who think they're stuck in the corporate world, who are yearning to escape? Do you suggest they have an exit plan? Any ideas?
I do think it's important to be practical. I know as artists, we don't always like being practical in that sense. But for myself, I did work in the corporate world. I did the closest thing I could do to what I wanted to do. And I was a copywriter and social media marketer for many years, and that now benefits my art. It helps support my art in that respect. And I was writing to all who wander during nap times. It took me 6 years to write that book. And I compiled it onto a book, and I couldn't make a cohesive story out of it. So I just released it as essays. Just do what it is with your hand right now, because your gifts are going to make a way for you, but you have to get it out there, and it's going to be imperfect, and it's not going to look exactly like you want it, but you have to be able to release stuff, and then you can move on to the next project. And now this next book, it took me a month to write, and it is a cohesive story, and I think it's better than the last book, and that's how it's always going to be. And it took me 10 years to get to the point where I was a full-time artist. It's going to take time, but you can do it, even if it's just between your kids' nap times or on break at work. And if you set your mind to that, I tried to, in a practical sense, I tried to get myself up to, I was making 50% of my income back from when I was a copywriter. And when I got to that 50%, I realized, okay, I can make the transition, because as soon as I put all of my focus on my art, it's going to skyrocket, because that energy is now being able to flow. I didn't just, make the decision and jump with nothing, but I did have that particular exit plan, but hopefully that helps somebody. That's how I went about it. Everybody's journey is different. I took it one day at a time for 10 years before I was able to make this leap.
I think that's the only way we can take it, because nothing is promised to us. And we're both Hurricane Michael survivors, and that incident alone is a reminder that we could have been gone.
Yeah.
Within a blink of the eye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we could have.
So when is your release coming out? I heard you're having some book signing events. Are they existing alongside your gigs? When and where can people get their signed copy?
Absolutely. So it's coming out May 28th. Specifically, you must buy it from me for the first 2 weeks. And I have book signings. Yes, the first one will be on the 28th from 10 to 12 at Wildroot Coffee and Apothecary in Lynn Haven. The second one on that same day will be at Little Village 1 to 3. And then the next day, which is the 29th, the Sunday, I will have a signing from 10 to 12 at Thistle and Thorne downtown. My good friend Sierra is letting me use her business for that. And then I'll have another one 1 to 3 at the Taproom that same day. So there's plenty of opportunities to come out and purchase your signed copy. And it's going to be a good time. I'm not doing music.
Absolutely. I can't imagine doing both. And is there going to be a digital release as well?
I do plan on having it out on Kindle, just so I can focus on the book instead of singing. That will take me about 2 weeks afterwards. I want to be able to sign as many or sell as many copies as I can firsthand. And then I will have it on Amazon, both in a paperback version that you can order with your Amazon Prime subscription and with Kindle.
Fantastic. And I'm saying this publicly. I'm inserting my public opinion. I think it would be wonderful if you did a audiobook version.
Yes.
Fire Flurries.
I would love to do that. I'm going to make that. I think I'll make that happen. I've had enough requests that I can't ignore that. So I get a lot of people can't sit at a, thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that.
I love what you and Eli are doing. It was so much fun filming those videos.
Fun. It really was. Hell's hot, Florida is hotter, and it's 32 degrees.
Right? So what's the latest for Jagged Gin? Y'all have been busy.
We have. Basically, we are trying to create as much content as we possibly can until we hit full force gigging season for the summer. And we're basically at that point now. So we've done an album, we've done several singles, we've been gigging wildly, and really spent a lot of time in Apalachicola, Port St. Joe, those areas. We really love to explore and get our word out to other places in the panhandle. We will have more singles released by the end of the year, but right now we're focusing on doing music videos. So be sure to look out for People Say a Lot of Things video and Hell's Hot video, and we're excited to do that.
Speaking of music videos, is it Love and what's the name of the new song?
Love and Other Drugs.
Love and Other Drugs. It was that filmed in a garage? Tell me about that.
Oh, I'd have to kill you if I told you, Ashley. I'm just kidding. But no, for real, it was a place that I found while kayaking in Lynn Haven, and it was quite a walk. And it was just this cool abandoned building that was left abandoned from Hurricane Michael. The roof's blown out, graffiti everywhere. And one of the lines in the song is, "You ruin me." And so I thought it was very appropriate space, and that was a fun time. We kayaked to get there.
What an even cooler part of the story, because I was like, Where did they travel to film this?
It's literally inland haven. Eli had a guitar on his back. It was an Epiphone because he didn't want to risk his Taylor, as he probably didn't want to.
No, he's right.
Yeah. And it was an adventure for sure. Broken glass, trash everywhere. But I felt from a creative standpoint, it was kind of a cool way to showcase that the Hurricane Michael destruction is something we still live with, and it's still everywhere. But you can make a cool music video out of it. Beauty from Pain.
Well, folks, check it out. They can see it on YouTube and Instagram. Where can they see it?
Yes, on Instagram, Facebook. We are putting it on YouTube soon, and TikTok.
Fantastic. So now, one of the songs that I love that you do on your own, I saw you do it on Mike Thompson's series, is Atlantis, but that's part of a full-length album, right? You have a solo album coming out soon. Please tell us about that.
Absolutely. I don't have a title for the record yet, but I'm kind of thinking of just calling it Home. It's going to be commentary about Florida. It's going to be commentary about relationships and growing up as a child of the Great Recession. That's actually my next single I'll release, called Child of the Great Recession. And it's just going to be a story about growing up here specifically, and locals will be able to recognize themselves in it, I believe. Lots of influences of Floridian culture, and I think people will be very proud. I'm hoping to have it all done by the end of the year. So no official date yet, but hopefully by the end of 2022.
What do you love about being an artist who performs frequently in St. Andrews?
I love being a part of an artistic community that is budding and about to absolutely explode. I love being a part of people who fight for their town, that fight for the culture of the town, that believe it's important for the town to have a essentially artist district, which is something Panama City has not had. And St. Andrews has become that. It's become known for the arts. We have art everywhere, as visual art. We have art galleries at the Taproom. We have music everywhere, and almost every business down there. And even some of the titles of the bar, we got the library, and just interesting things happening down there. And so for myself, I'm proud to be a part of the very early stages, because I think it's going to blow up. And me, you, and so many other artistic people have poured their heart and soul into making that area what it is. And I think we're going to see that very soon come to a really cool tipping point. And we will be able to say, I will be able to say, I was there when. And I'm excited for that day to transpire.
Yeah, for sure. We're living in exponential times.
Mm-hmm.
And so how can folks reach you online and beyond?
The website should be up by the time this podcast airs, sandimarlisa.com, Sandy with an I. And that's the place to find all the merchandise that's coming out soon and where I'll be playing. Hopefully some of my writings will be featured there. I'd like to write more about the town itself, just what I personally love about it. And also Facebook.com/Sandi Marlisa, Instagram.com/Sandi Marlisa. Those are the best places to follow me. Also, Jack and Gin Music.
Fantastic. And speaking of which, where are y'all playing in the upcoming future?
So June 2nd, we'll be at Shore Dogs. We'll be at Half Shell in Apalachicola on the 27th, Taproot in Port St. Joe, and Bruno's 30A. So lots of out-of-town gigs coming up for that week particularly.
Fantastic. So one more question. What advice would you offer to any young creative out there who is feeling apprehensive about putting themselves out there?
You're going to look like a fool at first. You're going to. Your first book is probably going to suck. Your first song, probably going to be horrible. And you have to put it out there anyway and let it be all of those things, because you have to get the first out of the way. You have to get the second out of the way, because every single time you're going to get better and it's going to be beautiful. I've been doing this my whole life. I'm 31 years old and I'm just now starting to see people appreciate what I do on an outside level, but I appreciated myself the whole time before that. And I was willing to look like a fool in front of people and post things on social media nobody else was posting. I was willing to get up on a stage and not give my best performance and stand there anyway and face the crowd while I know I'm not giving my best performance, and being willing to fail over and over again and get up anyway, because that's the only way to do it. You have to fail and you have to continuously get up. And eventually it gets to the point where your middle line is good and most of the stuff you produce is good. And now you're looking for, okay, well, what's great? What's fantastic? What's mind-blowing? You just continue to improve. So being able to get over those fears doesn't happen in the mind. If your thoughts control your actions, then your actions can control your thoughts. So just act, even though you don't feel like you're very confident. Just stand up there anyway. You can do it scared. You can do it scared. You don't have to feel confident to act confident. And eventually your confidence will catch up to your actions.
You hear that, folks? You can do it scared, so do it. All right, Sandi. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope to catch y'all playing live. I can't wait to come to one of your book signings. And until next time, keep St. Andrews salty.
One of the best things about St. Andrews is that you can see live music every day. That's right. There is live music being played somewhere in St. Andrews 7 nights a week. Fortunately, my friend Ken Schaefer creates and publishes a weekly schedule for St. Andrews as well as most of Bay County. Ken's spreadsheet schedule is updated often when there's any changes. Ken also shares individual music events and is walking the walk and talking the talk when it comes to supporting live music. Not only does Ken supply the music schedules, but he attends several music performances a week and takes fantastic photos of the musicians. As a working musician myself, I feel blessed to have Ken and his wife Donna as treasured members of our local musical family. Make sure you like and follow Ken's page, Salty Sounds in St. Andrews, and Oh Boy Music on Facebook, so that you'll always know where all the live music will happen. Thank you so much, Ken, for everything you do. Here's some community events for the week. I'd like to encourage everyone to follow Stone Loft Boat Shop on social media. They are a group of St. Andrews boat builders motivated by historical wooden sailboat preservation and maritime education. They are working to restore the Governor's Stone, which was severely damaged during Hurricane Michael in 2018. The Governor's Stone was built in 1877 in Pascagoula, Mississippi, and is modeled after the Atlantic Coast schooners who came before her. She is a 2-masted, fore and aft gaff rig centerboard, shallow draft schooner ideally suited for coastline and bay travel. The Governor's Stone has been a National Historic Landmark vessel in St. Andrews for many years, and I'm excited to see Stone Loft Boat Shop's journey restoring the vessel. In case you didn't know, the market at St. Andrews has moved to its beautiful new home at Oaks by the Bay Park. I believe the market starts at 8 a.m. and I think they go till about 1. They've got a little something for everybody. There's music that's being piped over from the Taproom. So gather up your friends and go enjoy the market at St. Andrews this Saturday. Another one of the best things you can do in St. Andrews is to take the historic walking tour with Ellen. They meet at the Panama City Publishing Museum at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock on Wednesdays and Fridays. It's light walking, and you'll really learn a lot about St. Andrews. Just a reminder, on May 28th, our friend Sandi Marlisa will be having a book signing for her new release, Flurries, at the Little Village from 1 to 3, and then another at Taproom May 29th, also from 1 to 3. That's all the community events I've got for this week. Tune in next week for more events happening in St. Andrews, and please visit the Keep St. Andrews Salty page on Facebook and Instagram. Thank y'all so much for listening to Season 3, Episode 7 of the St. Andrews Jezebel Podcast. I need to let you in on some news. Unfortunately, Facebook is no longer a podcast platform. By June, I believe all the podcast features will be gone. So if you're subscribed to the podcast on Facebook, you will no longer be able to listen to the episodes there. But all episodes since the very beginning are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and pretty much all the major platforms. So now is a good time to subscribe so that you'll always be up to date when I publish episodes on Thursdays. As always, if you'd like to support the podcast, please visit our Ko-fi page where you can make a one-time donation. If you liked our theme song, it was written by me and recorded by Dave Schwartz on the campus of Gulf Coast State College. The rest was written by me and recorded in my music room, and the interviews were recorded at the Bay County Public Library Digital Media Collab. Well, y'all, we'll see you next week. Until next time, keep St. Andrews salty.